Hello, this is international football commentator Derek Ray. And make no mistake, this is your source for all things black and gold. Football just wouldn't be football without Berwick Rangers. Stand by for this edition of the Let It BRFC podcast.
Welcome to the Let It BRFC podcast. I'm Adam Hunter and I'm joined on co-hosting duties by Kevin Haynes. Hi Kev, how are you?
Good, Adam. Yourself?
Very well, thank you. Back training next week. How much are you looking forward to it?
I can't wait. Can't wait to see all the smiling faces again. Obviously, it's going to be totally different in terms of the structure and the layout of how we work within the guidelines. And I don't know I think we're going to be under a bit more scrutiny. We're training at somebody else's facility. It's going to be different, totally different.
It's still Peffer Mill?
Yes, aye. But Peffer Mill are only letting 2 clubs in, and they're going to use us as basically the template, and they're going to see how it goes. And so there's us and one other club that's going to be in.
Who else trains there?
Edinburgh Uni, Edinburgh City do for a bit of the season before they go to Norium. That's about it. Hibs ladies train there. That's about it on the Tuesday, Thursdays at VC, so I don't know who trains there the other nights.
So is it the full squad that's going to be in next week?
Yes, but we have to split our training park into basically 4 groups.
Right.
So the gaffer will have a group, I'll have a group, Daz will have a group, and Bev will have the goalies. Because it's a limited number that you can have per group. And then obviously with the guidelines that come out Thursday or whatever, we can then, I think we're a fortnight away before we can do contact.
Right.
But again, I don't know how clear it is in terms of, can you do contact within your small group or can you do contact within a large group? I don't know. Are they going to allow 22 bodies running about kicking and sneezing on each other and breathing on each other and slide tackling? I don't know.
What's it look like from a pre-season perspective? Is it like a beasting to start with for the first few weeks and lots of running, or?
What we generally do is we have a hard 6 weeks. So we're going to go in, it's going to be 9 weeks effectively before the start of the season. So the first 3 weeks is going to incorporate the 2 weeks of non-contact stuff. So it'll be very, very light, and it'll just be a phased return almost. Boys have not kicked a ball in 6 months.
You've got to be careful because otherwise you're going to get injuries, aren't you?
So if we come back in and do a hard 6 weeks, you're going to get injuries, and I keep telling the players that they can't kid on a kidder, so I would have pulled up with an injury. So I know for a fact there'll be some of them pulling up with injuries if that was the case.
Well, and just be ready for the first game of the season. I think that's me out for the 8 weeks.
I used to pay the physio to put me out for 6 weeks, come back for the game.
You picked up a few fines as well, didn't you?
Nah. Again, that's something else that's misunderstood. Rumours and lies.
How's the studying for the diploma going?
It's hard trying to fit it in, if I'm honest. Just obviously full-time work and full-time life, and it's going to be even worse come next week when I've got football added into it. But it's getting a night, and it takes over a night. It's just sitting down and getting a full night that you can look at stuff, and because it goes live on a Monday, so you're kind of chasing your tail. If you've not caught up the Monday session by the Thursday, Friday, you know it's coming around again on Monday. Mm-hmm. So it's a bit of a mad panic to try and free up a night and do everything that you need to do, because there's obviously classes that you're catching up on, and there's tasks that you need to do. And we got hit last Sunday with a 750 word essay to be in for Wednesday. I've never done an essay since 1997 in English. So structuring that wasn't great. It was a bit of a panic. Made worse when Kevin Moss said he wasn't even born in '97. So.
Oh no. What are you training? Are you training Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday? Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, sorry.
Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, aye. Starting a Saturday though. Starting a Saturday, boys haven't got an excuse not to turn up. Starting a Tuesday, they could be saying they're working late.
Is any of them still furloughed?
Callum Smith is. Aye, still furloughed with his work. I think majority of them are back.
So you've got no excuse, Callum. Expect you to be the fittest there.
Just can't wait. He's saying he's looking tanned and thin, and he's looking $1 million. Still not got a bit of hair in his head, but he's looking good.
No comment. For our guests this week, we have Dale Jones and Martin Ingles. Hi guys, how are you?
Not too bad, thanks, Adam. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. I'm good. But you, Dale?
I am good, mate. Cheers for having us on. I won't lie, I told you I'm back in the gym now. They're open down here. I'm sitting uncomfortably the day.
I enjoy it though.
It's been good. I also find, to be fair, that it helps us mentally. It just makes us a bit happier.
Recently, you've been heavily involved in the launch of Club 1881, Dale. Do you want to talk to us a little bit around that?
The club was something that was first kind of mooted as an idea around January time, actually. So it was literally within weeks of the new board kind of coming in and taking charge, and even while it was still forming. And if I remember rightly, I think it was Craig Forsyth's idea, and maybe Dave Bugos has chipped in a little bit along the way as well. But I basically, at the time, it was mooted as a potential solution to the problem that every club faces, in that you play 9 months of the year, you're getting the gate revenues, you're getting match sponsorships, you're getting all your hospitality money, you're getting even merchandise through club shop sales, things like that. You've got constant revenue stream. Then you get to the 3 months of summer where you've got your usual off season. At that point, obviously, we didn't know that the off season was going to be much bigger than 3 months as it has been. But what basically happens is that the revenue into the club completely stops. And as a club that has hemorrhaged money for the best part of the last 5 years, we've been making loss after loss. That actually we needed to find a way to get some income into the club and some revenue, and generate some revenue, throughout those summer months. So the idea of Club 1881 was originally just to make sure there's a way to get our supporters to help make the football club essentially more viable and more sustainable throughout those summer months, originally anyway. So at that point in time, we had no idea of what it really looked like. And then obviously COVID kicked in, and we kind of kickstarted all of these one-off fundraising activities. So, things like the 1881 fund, where we've raised probably almost £15,000, donate a ticket, where fans just went absolutely mental. And, from them, we were able to see that fans have the willingness, the goodwill's there to give to the club when the club asks for it. But something myself, and I know Martin, whenever I've spoke with you, you've agreed with this, we became conscious of, is that we can't just continue asking fans to make the club viable by just plunging their money and time again for these one-off events, where in reality, we give absolutely nothing back as a club. So, donate a ticket, for example, you're paying for a virtual ticket to a fixture that never exists. You don't get anything out of it. So even as donate a ticket, when we joined the Scottish Cup thing, for example, me and Martin, I won't speak for Martin, but myself, I didn't want us to do it at that point, because I was like, you go into the fans a little bit too much. That's when we kind of came back and revisited the idea of Club 1881. And then we looked at it as, okay, well, it can be a solution not only to kind of creating that revenue stream, but also a solution for rewarding fans and thanking them for their support, because ultimately it needs to be that two-way street. So I had a meeting with Craig and Nathan, and we started fleshing out the benefits, and we looked at the value proposition of it essentially. And that's when we decided that it'd include things like your match admission. It's got discounts, it's got the raffle entry for a year's free membership, it's got the bond scheme number, so you can end up winning 200 quid and it pays for itself anyway. It's got the kind of exclusive content, it's got the quarterly management meetings, so Kev, you'll be on the Zoom calls again, tuning in with the 1881 club members where they can.
Don't know if Yano knows that yet.
He'll be pulling up with an injury as well. So we started looking at it as essentially how can we actually give something back as a football club to the fans who are helping make us a sustainable entity, essentially, because ultimately what the club needs to do at the minute is get back to not posting losses every season because we can't afford to. The future was looking bleak maybe only 6 months ago. Now it's looking a lot better.
I remember the donator ticket thing there. Me and you were chatting about it and just say, I can't believe we're doing this. But Dave was really pushing it. And then when that Stenny game came up, and obviously it was neck and neck that first round, and I think we ended up getting 350, I think it was. And he was so chuffed. Fair play to him. Like he pushed it, and it was successful. And I mean, we got through. Well, did we get to the quarterfinal or the semi-final? I can't remember.
Dave bought 299 of the tickets himself, though.
Aye, and like you say, to be fair to Dave, he did get that one spot on, and we've said that since, and it's a credit to the fans that have kind of got behind the club and continue to do that. But yeah, just to go back to kind of what Club 1881 is, the product, and we've been very conscious of this, the product that we're marketing is fans helping make Berwick Rangers sustainable, and then you're rewarded with the benefits. The product is not your match admission, things like that. It's completely the other way around, and I think that's been a big part of why it's been able to resonate so well with fans. And we set an initial target of 50 members, and that's been absolutely smashed. I think we're up to just shy of 70 at the minute, and we're looking at changing the targets. I think personally, I feel as though 3 figures is more than achievable. If you look at the percentages, I find it crazy, but 66% of our membership at the minute is from outside of Northumberland and the Scottish borders. So people who are nowhere near Berwick, who aren't going to come to games anyway, who still want to back the team and play a part in making Berwick Rangers again a viable entity, but also a success. But then again, what that also shows is that only 33% are from Berwick. There's room there for us to do more with those people and get them members in as well, which is why I'm quite excited about the future. And I feel as though we can still grow that membership base.
And I think that number from Berwick, anyways, the percentage from Berwick will probably increase because to many people, match admission probably will matter. And once there's clarity around the fixtures and whether fans are going to be allowed into games, hopefully that again gives a little bit of spike in terms of members signing up.
I think September's the stadium entrance, isn't it?
Right.
September the 24th or something like that is when they're allowed to allow supporters in, but obviously it's social distancing and hygiene measures. But clarity on that.
Aye, definitely. I mean, I'm maybe looking at it quite simplistically, but if I'm from Berwick and I'm a regular at the home games, the way I look at it anyway is I'm going to pay a tenner to go to 2 home games in a month, every month anyway, during the season. I could join Club 1881 and technically you're kind of making a saving, but then you're just committing to those summer months. But again, we've seen that the goodwill is there from fans to also support us through those summer months. And ultimately, it's going to be that goodwill that helps us build a more competitive squad on the pitch, as we're going to see this, hopefully going to see this season. No pressure, Kev.
Any feel pressure, sorry. Well, why do you think that the higher percentages come from out with Berwick? There must be a reason behind that.
To be honest, I just feel as though, there's quite a lot of people who move away from Berwick, and I do feel as though people always have that kind of attachment to back home and, they've grown up watching Berwick, whatever it might be. And they do genuinely still want to see the club do well. And obviously in the last probably decade or so, we've slid down into where we are at this point in time. And I think there's genuinely a willingness there to see Berwick rebuild. And that's not necessarily to say we're going to climb back into the Scottish leagues or anything like that, but it's to make us a better club. And what we're seeing the club do at the minute is, things like connecting to the community massively. Like, people want to see those feel-good stories, even if they're not around to actually experience it themselves, I think.
How did you go about putting it together?
Again, so it was, we've got a kind of media team group chat. So there's me, Martin, Craig, Dave, Graham Gurney, Nathan Thompson, and yourself. all in there. So that was probably formed over kind of months of, like we say, it was back in January when this idea was first muted. So formed back in January, and then it's been months of kind of conversations and, you know, just running little ideas by each other. And then it eventually got to that meeting with Nathan and Craig where we actually fleshed it out. And I think Nathan took that to the board with Craig, and, you know, as a kind of financial proposal to make sure that Brian as the chairman and, you know, the rest of the board were all happy with it and saw it as something that would actually benefit the club. In kind of creating it, so it's a strange one because we've launched it, but we're actually behind quite a few clubs now. A lot of clubs are doing very similar things, I've noticed. For example, Clyde, I know, have done something fairly similar. I'm not so sure on their package. I think it's more of a kind of like almost like a voucher thing that you meant to use. But in the week or two just before we launched ours, I noticed that Dundalk over in Ireland had done it. And that was literally just through following them through Berwick's account. I've got no idea why Berwick's Twitter account follows Dundalk, but I'd noticed that, so I got in touch with them, had a little chat with them about it, and seen, you know, the kind of success that they'd had, and heard what we could maybe expect. And to be fair, one of the good things about what we've done, even though I wouldn't say we're late to the party, but I'd say that, you know, there's a couple that have done it before us now that we've been able to learn from, is that we're now in a position to offer out that advice. So earlier this week, I was speaking to a guy from Nairn County, for example, who, you know, not a massive team or anything, but it's good that we're being seen as leaders now.
And Trinette Juniors launched something similar a couple of weeks before we did. I noticed that.
I think that was to raise funds to get rid of the manager.
Surely they've got enough money after the donator ticket thing.
Aye, some controversy. Like, I tell you what, that Facebook group was going wild. You better be leaving this in, Adam.
Will you close for Club 1881 in the future?
Well, I suppose first and foremost is to maintain that membership. We've done really well to get it up to about 70 already. So before we actually consider, you know, going on to reach that 100, you want to make sure that we've got everybody signed up, paid, and more to the point, happy with what they're getting. And that kind of touches on fan feedback. And to bring it back to what Kev said earlier, I remember what I was going to say now. Another reason that people from out of town have you know, kind of connected with this idea is because we've listened to them. So when we launched the club initially, fans from outside the town basically got in touch with us on Facebook, you know, things like that, and said to us, we like it, but it doesn't really offer us the same value as someone from Berwick because they get to go and actually make use of the free match admission, whereas we can never use that. So we chatted about it again in the WhatsApp group, and I think it was Dave's idea this time, who said, you know, well, we record the games anyway, let's just stick up either an extended highlights package or the full 90 minutes. And from there, we've already tried over the summer, you know, the live streaming on Facebook. So we were putting Berwick v Rangers, Berwick v Celtic Cup games out there, and we knew it could be a success. So it was just a case of, well, yeah, let's stick that 90 minutes footage on. We can put it on a private YouTube page and fire the link out, and then they get to recreate a match day at home on a Tuesday night, whenever it might be, and they can just sit with a beer or whatever they want to do and watch the full 90 minutes and give them that experience of being a Berwick Rangers fan. So in terms of, you know, the hopes for the future, I'd hope that we continue to listen to fan feedback on it, but I'd also hope that we can continue to expand the benefits of Club 1881. And again, I think we've got the full backing of the board in being able to do that. I'd also say that, you know, we are already looking at what we can do. I've already touched on that, and that, you know, there's another potential perk that we're looking at adding as the season kind of gears up to get going again, and hopefully we'll have a little bit more information on that for fans in the near future. And again, I think another thing that I'd like it to become in the future is kind of leading. I know Berwick are a massive club, but there's no reason other clubs can't look to us as you know, the people who do it best. And we've got an unbelievably talented team. You know, the board are doing a smashing job. As the volunteers we've got are unbelievable. I'll probably give at this point a shout out to Nathan, because I think he's been brilliant since coming on. I think not only in terms of the work that he's doing for the board, which hopefully people have read about and heard about on his podcasts and, you know, his little articles and things like that, but also the work that, you know, me and Martin are in a separate group with him, and he's just constantly getting things done, and that is what the club has needed for so long. And he also represents me and Martin really well, I think. And ultimately, I think although me and Martin are volunteers of the club, all we are really are fans. And what Nathan does really well is to acknowledge that and understand that we can offer him, and yourself included, in that, you know, we can offer him the feeling of fans and the fan base and make sure that that's represented at a board level as well.
We've talked a little bit about your current involvement with the club. Do you want to detail that out a little bit more?
I can certainly try, yeah. I'm having to be quieter now. I can't drink as much on away days, I think, next season. Otherwise, Kev will put them boxing lessons to get used to.
Kev, can you remember the other week when we were talking about the friendship derby and someone handing out Maltesers outside the turnstiles at Clyde?
Yes.
It was Dale.
I messaged Adam after that. I wasn't happy with how it was presented. It made us sound like a right roaster.
So you're going to clear it up then and make it sound better?
Well,
can you make it sound better?
I'm not sure. So the reason that the thing I was least unhappy or most unhappy with was the reason of the friendship derby never got mentioned. So the friendship derby came about because there was 2 games left of the season, and it was us, Clyde, and Cowden down the bottom. The second last game of the season, we've got Clyde away, and a point for both teams means we both definitely stay up. They go down into the playoffs. So straight away, everyone's online chatting with each other. I'll just take the draw. Nobody needs to do anything. We don't even need to score a goal. In the end, you know, both teams were kind to each other, let each other score a goal and celebrate. We drew 1-1. And then the dream was that we were sending Cowden down together. And unfortunately, that never quite came true. And maybe karma's hit us a little bit harder than it hit Clyde. Aye, sorry. So to go back to the question, my involvement in the club, I'm volunteering directly with the club again. Something I've done in the past, to be fair. You know, I've ran the website and the social media platforms before as well. And again, that's kind of what I'm doing at the minute. One of the things that's definitely been a positive about the new board is that they're very open and very receptive. And, you know, they're inclusive as to our views, because they know that we're not just running that, but we can have an input in that and you know, help the club to progress. So we're in, as I say, we're in WhatsApp groups. We're also on the club's Slack. So there's a number of private channels on the Slack that we can't see, things like finances and things like that. So we don't need to see them. But there's also public things. So to give an idea, I'll drag it up. So there's channels for Club 1881, digital platforms, the girls and women's program, you know, your podcast, the kits, things like that. There's a channel for pretty much everything. So we're in there. So although we are, you know, volunteers who are running the platforms of the club, we're also kind of helping guide the direction of what the board are doing as well.
Great stuff.
Future chairman sitting there.
I think that'd be very controversial, Kev. I don't think that will happen anytime soon. Like.
What's been your favourite memories over the years, Dale?
There's not been many, like.
Tomo's goal away, Cowden.
Oh, that's genuinely the best goal I've ever seen live. I know it was heavily wind assisted. The dugout blew over before the game. What a strike it was. My first full season supporting Berwick was 06-07, so definitely the highlight has been watching Kev and the boys win the league, and then it's kind of maybe been a bit all downhill from there, to be honest.
Starting off well, and it's just went down the way since.
Aye, but you're back now, so don't worry about it. We'll run the way back. In terms of what my favourite things are these days, it is those away days. For me, it's more about you know, meeting your group of mates on a Saturday, getting on the train or the bus or whatever it is, and heading up the road with a few drinks. You know, some of the away days have been unreal. You've mentioned Cowden, so there was the 3-1 where Tomo's hit that goal, his late header in the 1-0. You've got the friendship derbies you've mentioned. Peter Coulter, I've got to mention Mike Bell, because I've never seen a man drink as much in all my life. Bolty as the Undertaker on an away day was that mortal. He's lying on the train floor and then he just sat up and said tombstone. I've still no idea what that was about. Ronan, king of away days. Martin, I love you when you refuse to drink. You know, it's like 9:30 train or whatever, and Martin will say, I'm no drinking till Dunbar.
The myth that, like.
Nah, it's true. Like, you're going to be drinking 12 hours anyway, and you think the half an hour is going to make a difference. You've got Pappy and Dee squabbling. You've got Brooksy with an IQ of about 3. getting himself chucked out of Gretna and that. Bummer and Ty, the young team. You've just got a massive group of idiots, and it just works perfectly every time. I don't think I've ever had a bad away day. So that's certainly.
What about Trotter?
Oh, how could I forget Trotter? Man, Trotter's my favourite of the lot. I saw Ty had put a tweet out this morning saying something like, "No better than when you're in Falkirk and Trotter you turn around and Trotter's just there with 24 Jaeger bombs."
I think I'm going to start travelling to games we use.
You'd be more than welcome. You'd drunk us though. I was looking this morning actually. I was speaking of Ronan and Kev, as you know from when Ronan came on. I think he's got a bit of a fetish for John Coughlin, like.
Oh, a wee bit, yeah.
And I was looking at when he first took charge, and our record from then was absolutely insane. We called it the heavy entertainment era. We had the best one for me was Stirling at home, 1-0 up from the first minute. Got to the 92nd minute, and they've got a shot away, and Brian Martin's palmed it over the bar, got himself sent off, and given away the pen. And so the refs, he's pointing to the spot. Brian Martin's supposed to be away down the tunnel. He's got the head like dipping out of it, and that he's like basically in the dugout. They take the penalty, miss, and he's celebrating away. Full-time whistle goes, and he's like trying to get back on the park and that to come celebrate with the boys. I've never seen it like it. Absolutely unreal.
There's a picture of him that normally does the rounds on Twitter where he's palming it over the bar and someone's drawn a goalkeeper top on him, but like in paint. So I'll tweet that out.
Unreal. That's class, man.
Do you know Brian, Kev?
Yes, I know Brian. I played against him a lot through the years.
What's he like?
Not as good as me.
Aye.
Brian's all right. Brian's a good guy. If I remember right, he was always very pacey, and I don't know how he was when he kind of got to Berwick. It was later on in his career, wasn't he? But he was always pacey, and he always played. He played in defence when he was at Berwick, centre half or left back, didn't he? But he played further up the park in his younger years. Played left midfield or up in the left wing or whatever. So he's obviously dropped back as he got older. But no, great guy, good lad.
He does seem a good guy. I mean, there's been away days when Cheltenham's on because he loves the horses, doesn't he? So we've been tweeting him for tips on the way up on the bus and that.
Yeah, I think he owns a horse or something, doesn't he?
Does he?
I'm sure he is. I'm sure he's an owner.
I saw you tweet about a accumulator yesterday. Did you have that on, Kev? 250 for $1,500.
No, it wasn't me.
Sorry.
That's no, my mate at work. He does an algorithm type, stats based table that works out, the likelihood of what should win a race on the conditions and for everything like that.
Kev, your voice has got a little bit quieter in the last minute or so.
So he was, he'd asked me to put that out, so that was that.
Who've been your favourite players over the year, Dale?
Kev, you must love it when folk come on this podcast because it's always you, innit?
It's always the same.
That's why Dennis hasn't come on, because he's not got Kevin. He's starting 11 yet.
I better be in Dennis's squad. I'll take the 19th man.
Mate, he's still at 60.
30 of them are goalkeepers.
Was it 60 weeks ago, was he not?
Thanks, so.
Still there.
Aye, Kev, it was all about you for me as a youth. Like, I mind the Stenny game after we'd won the league away. I came up to you on the pitch and I asked, could I get you boots? I don't know why I wanted your boots, like, but you said no, like. But I suppose, to be fair, we got beat that day, so no win bonus. Probably couldn't afford a new pair for the new season.
I think I'd give my boots out the following week.
I mind as well.
I would have gave you them.
Oh, you're a good lad. We'll arrange a meet.
I'll give you them.
I mind as well when we had Falkirk in the cup and all the Berwick fans were in the main stand for the day. So I think they had a throw in and some boys went down as if you've elbowed them.
We were talking about that not long ago. Adam Jack Ross, Hibs manager.
Mm.
I thought that's what you were referring to in the podcast when we were talking about it. and you've went up to him and you've grabbed him by the shirt while he's on the floor, and with one hand, mind, he's picked him up off the ground, like the knees actually left the ground. I've never seen anything like it in my life.
Aye.
In terms of since then, to be honest, not that many that you know. There's been cult heroes, and that there's not been that many that are proper legends or anything like that. I don't think. But in terms of talent, I think Lee Curry was unbelievable player. And in terms of the current squad, I think we've got a really good group of guys. I think every time you hear the likes of Lewis Barr and Kevin Waugh talk, you can see that they're the kind of guys that you want around the club. So I think we're definitely in a decent position at the minute in terms of having put together a squad of decent guys.
Good.
That's quite evident to us this year that the good people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like before, I've worked in squads, and I'm not saying that. In fact, I've played in squads, and it's not been great people, and they might end up being a no bad side, but the really good teams all seem to be good people that get on.
Aye.
And this we've kind of went with a wee plan this year that we're getting wee groups of friends. You know, maybe we've got a group of 4 or 5 of them that all hang about together with Kevin Waugh and Craig Reid and Kieran Somerville and all these guys. They're friends away from football. So we're trying to create this wee group like you know, Ewan Smith and Fozzie and you know, these are groups of people that you know, see each other out with football.
Aye. And to be fair, I think one of the things that me and Martin are hoping that we can do, and I know we've spoke with Nathan quite a lot on it as well, is kind of actually help fans connect with the players and show off the players' personalities a bit more, because they are all good guys. You know, the little podcast, mini podcasts that you've been doing with them, Adam, like the one with you and Smith the other day, I really enjoyed, and Ali Foster as well, which you can hear exclusively first as a member of Club 1881, by the way. You know, they do a good job of showing off the personalities and making them feel more like humans rather than folk that you come along and abuse for 90 minutes on a Saturday. You know, like, they are good guys, and I think the whole club would be better off by getting to know them and getting behind them.
Yeah, I think over the years, you know, like I said, Berwick fans, not necessarily Berwick fans, but people in the town of Berwick have often criticised the club for not having enough. Kevin, you're probably sick to death of hearing stuff like this, but like not having enough local players in the team, and whether that's because they can't connect with the players as people or not, I don't know. But like Dale says, it's about trying to put the players at the forefront of the club and not kind of like what's going on in the boardroom, which I think has been probably a problem that's plagued the club for the best part of the last decade.
Definitely.
It's something that we done as a squad. We always and Gary O'Connor was the big massive. I've said this a million times. Gary O'Connor was a big massive driving force in the leader within our changing room at that time. But Gary would make sure we all went into the black and gold and have a pint, and you know, whether you had a juice or you spent 10 minutes or you had half an hour or you had an hour, whatever it was, you went in and you engaged with the supporters. And I think that helps to breed that wee bit of success, you know, between, you know, certain groups.
Banksy talked about that as well, didn't he? He said that they used to go in, win or loss, and sometimes you get a bit of heat about like the performance or whatever, or sometimes it would be after a win and someone would buy him a pint, sort of thing.
I was maybe a bit fortunate because we were, in my time, we were quite successful, you know, finishing second and just missing out in the league on goal difference and then winning the league the following year. So we probably didn't see that side yet, you know, the grief and the heat. But it certainly helped, and we try and encourage our players now to go upstairs, and when the sponsors are there, and we Daniel and Lewis Barr and even Ossie, they used to go in and sit and have a cup of tea and interact with people sitting there. So it's something that we try and encourage.
I know times have changed and stuff, and over the last 10 years, and you know, players are maybe a bit more players can't. If players drive down, they can't go for a drink after the game. It's as simple as that, really. So it is a bit difficult, but I know for a fact that for the people who are up there, whether corporate season ticket holders or match sponsors, they really kind of appreciate it when the players do come in, even if it's just for kind of sort of half an hour, 45 minutes after the game.
I think also it's a bit of a two-way street as well, isn't it? It's not just bringing the fans closer to the players. It's helping the players build a connection. In the last decade, we've lost decent players, that we've offered decent deals to. Like, so for example, Blair Henderson, Ewan McNeil, guys like that who are really good players. And we've lost them because there isn't any real connection there. And if you look at how things are being done differently now, and I'm not saying that Lewis Barr has stayed around because of any work that we've done or anything like that, but there's definitely a connection there with Lewis. Lewis was a guy I was absolutely cringing at, the young team up at Cove. Mind when we went down and the young team are like slamming him and Jack Cook, and they're the only two boys with enough bottle to come over to the fans after the game, after we've been relegated. And Lewis has probably had offers on the table from bigger clubs than us, probably had more money on the table elsewhere, and yet he's stuck around. And I think that is because we've actually been able to make a bit of a connection and make him enjoy his time at the club. So it definitely works both ways, and the more effort you put into it, the more reward you reap.
Aye, and like you talk about the effort there, so you had the COVID extension of the furlough payments, and you've had this diploma thing, which Kev and a handful of the players have gone on as well, and it's kind of helping to develop these players in their professional careers, as well as again, it just makes them feel valued, and it makes it feel as though the club's gone the extra mile for them.
Yeah, definitely.
Club 1881 is your opportunity to be part of a community of Dream Team supporters, helping to transform the club's financial fortunes. For just £18.81 per month, you can help your club become a more sustainable one, safeguarding the future of Berwick Rangers Football Club and building a solid foundation for the club to target future success from. Club 1881 members receive access to exclusive JERS content ranging from podcasts to videos, player interviews to meet the management team sessions, newsletters to club shop sales and more. And if that wasn't enough, all Club 1881 members will gain free admission to all home Lowland League fixtures, where they might even scoop a £200 jackpot through the bond scheme number, also included in their membership fee. To become a Club 1881 member today, simply head to berwickrangers.com/shop/Club 1881. One team, your team, Dream Team.
So the Supporters Club had their AGM on Thursday night. How did that go?
It went okay. I think you were obviously present there. But yeah, I think obviously it's been an interesting year. It's been a difficult year. Obviously I came back. I worked up in Glasgow for 4 years. Came back in March last year, and then joined the committee last June, and became vice chairman of the committee. Alongside Matty, and kind of over the past, in the lead up to the football club AGM, obviously everything was going on. People had opinions on what was going on at the football club, and like we were faced with a very difficult decision, and it was one that we could affect, and few other organisations or people could. So it got to the AGM, and yeah, we ended up making, we spent a hell of a lot of time in the build-up, talking, deliberating what was going to be best. It was a massive risk, and it was certainly not a decision that any one of us on the committee took lightly. And at the end of the day, what happened. Incredibly grateful to Brian Poyes, who came back. I'd spoken to him a couple of times in the lead up, and he was kind of, I spoke to him at a game, and he was kind of felt a little bit obviously disheartened with what he was seeing, and yeah, at the end of the day, he didn't have to come back, but he did, because he loves the football club, and I think obviously we were massively appreciative of that. And I think over the past 5 to 6 months, he's put together a team of excellent directors and associate directors, all of whom have skills in completely different areas that can all help towards the success of the football club. And particularly, I think it was perhaps Dave's idea to advertise for directors, and we've got, correct me if I'm wrong, 2 from out of town, in Graham Gurney and Gary Burns. And I think that just kind of shows as well that we are looking outwardly. We're not just looking at people from Berwick to be directors of Berwick Rangers Football Club. And I think it's refreshing that they don't have any kind of awareness of what's gone on at the football club in the past, and it's kind of like just a complete blank canvas to them. And yeah, I mean, to date, we couldn't have been happier with how things have gone. And yeah, and obviously in the AGM, that was Matty addressed all of that stuff in his chairman's report, and like you say, things appear to be going well. Obviously COVID hit, and if anything, the lack of what's been going on the football pitch has arguably been beneficial to us, and certainly from a media team perspective, in that we can sort of arrange campaigns such as Club 1881. There's time there where you can kind of work towards kind of wider marketing projects. So this is more from a club point of view than a supporters club point of view, but yeah, it's been really good. And obviously in the AGM, we addressed kind of with COVID hitting, it's obviously affected a number of our revenue streams into the supporters club, so we couldn't do the half-time draw. We didn't have income from users of Shieldfield Park, so obviously the Speedway are a massive income for the supporters club, which obviously in turn then goes to the football club. They've not been running, and probably won't or pretty much won't, certainly not officially for the remainder of the year. And then users of Old Shieldfield as well. So yeah, it's been a massively challenging few months, but something where looking at where we are now has been pretty worth it, I would say.
Definitely.
I remember that AGM that you referred back to, turn of the year. I've never felt so uncomfortable in a room in my life that night. It was horrible. It was absolutely horrible.
It was. I think it was. I remember seeing you guys there, and I'm like, oh, what are they gonna think of us coming in here and doing this? And I think probably the reaction in the immediate aftermath of it was obviously you were gutted with what had happened, and perhaps couldn't understand what had happened, and like that was especially difficult for us knowing that yous were there on the night.
It was just never a situation that I had been in, and obviously it's different when there's being a PLC, you know what I mean, and the club run differently. But it just looked that night. It was just horrendous. It was just try to process what was going on. And then obviously Brian stepping up saying that he was going to take over, and in my opinion, I worked with John Bell for at that time 4 or 5 months, and I knew John from when he was on the trust years ago. When I played at the club, and it was just horrible. I think John Bell carried the can for a lot of stuff that happened.
Yeah,
prior to him coming in.
As Dale kind of said, obviously the club was on a projected decline for
well over a decade.
Yeah.
Mm. Aye. No, it was really uncomfortable that night, really. But you know, we've turned a corner, and it's proved to be a great decision. You know what I mean? I think we're seeing the fruits of that already. Mm-hmm. So apart from me being uncomfortable, it's been good.
Do you feel well supported by the board?
Yes, aye. There's never anything that we've asked for up to now. They've never declined it. They've been very transparent since day one. You know, Brian came in and said that budgets will be cut, X, Y, Z, and what I like about Brian is Brian doesn't bend. Mm-hmm. Brian says this, Brian will stick to that. You know what I mean? And there's chairmen that I've worked with where you can, for your own benefit, you can bend them a wee bit to get X, Y, or Z. Brian doesn't it? Brian's straight down the line, and you're getting this, you're not getting that, and that's how it is, and that's good. You know what I mean? There's no grey areas. So,
just to go back to what Martin was saying as well, and I said this during the AGM the other day, I do think Berwick Rangers Supporters Club deserve an awful lot of credit. I saw a lot of the kind of criticisms firsthand of the decision that was taken that night in the immediate aftermath, and it was understandable because there's so much uncertainty. I don't even think the supporters club themselves knew exactly where it was going to go from there, and probably certainly didn't expect it to go quite as well as it has done. But ultimately, they are the organisation who kind of sparked the turnaround that we've seen. So for all the great work that we've seen from the board, from volunteers, and all the great backing we've had from fans, it ultimately comes down to we wouldn't be in this position if a very difficult decision and action wasn't taken that night. And as uncomfortable as it was for all, I think it's to their credit that they did challenge the club and, you know, have tried to make us a lot better.
Off the back of the meeting with the supporters club, what's the plans for the next 12 months?
Well, we're placing kind of a big emphasis on modernising, and I think the monthly draw is indicative of that. I mean, COVID hit. We were planning to introduce a replacement for the weekly scheme. Obviously, Conrad is 76 or 77 now, so he's done amazing work for the football club over the years, and I think by his...
I think he's lying there. He was 76, 77, 10 years ago. He's at it.
By his own admission, he was maybe looking to move on, and obviously COVID came in, and he was unable to go out and visit people because obviously everybody who was in the weekly scheme, Connie went and collected money from, or pretty much no one paid online. COVID allowed us to change the draw at that time, and so far it's been massively successful. We've pretty much transferred a lot of people over from the weekly scheme to the monthly draw, although we would still like to transfer more people over. We've transferred pretty much everybody from cash in hand payments to standing order payments, which is massive. I think the only places we collect money from now are the Highfield shop in Berwick and the Mason's Arms out in Norham. So we have just shy of 400 members now, and I think we have maybe 20 to 25 who are paying by cash, so it's been a massive shift. And obviously we've got, other than the £1,000 prize and the £250 charity donation every month, we've got no other outlay with that unless an agent wins. So we can only see it becoming more and more profitable as more and more people sign up. And obviously we're incredibly grateful to Kev, who signed up, and also a couple of the players as well. Callum Smith and Kev Waugh signed up, as well as some former players as well. So Stevie Notman.
I need to know my number, actually. So you could palm me off every month. I could win and you'll not ken.
Well, it would have been in your original email, so. I think you changed your email address, actually, didn't you?
I bet I won. I bet I've won already, and they've just not told me.
No, sadly not. So now the monthly draws, it's been massive for us, and something that's going to become even more profitable for us moving forward. So, and in terms of membership, I'll talk about the committee first. We obviously introduced yourself, Adam, and Mark Swanson onto the committee. Both of you live outside of Berwick, and again, just talking about the Club 1881, we kind of looked at that stat a couple of weeks back when it came out that 66% of the people who'd signed up were from out of town. So we wanted to place an emphasis as a supporters club to reflect that on our committee. So obviously we've hosted Zoom committee meetings for 4 months now, and it's been very successful, arguably more efficient because people go down less rabbit holes talking about other stuff that's not necessarily on the agenda. I'm probably a bit to blame for that myself, but no, they're more efficient, and again, hosting Zoom meetings allows us to get out of town supporters onto the committee and to, help give a fresh perspective about about what it's like to be a Berwick fan from out of town and what the supporters club can do for them. So hopefully, if this is going out Monday, we should have details about our membership for the 2021 season, which was obviously postponed because the AGM was postponed until Thursday, because we were hoping to host it in person, but it just got to the point where it wasn't going to be possible. So yeah, there's a lot of good things happening, and hopefully this year will be less taxing, less time spent worrying about certain things, because as we say, we're delighted with the trajectory that the club appears to be on now, and couldn't be happier with how things are going.
How would you like to be in with a chance of winning £1,000 every month? If that sounds appealing to you, because it sure does to me, you need to join Berwick Rangers Supporters Club's monthly draw. For just £5 per month, you'll go into a draw with hundreds of other Dream Team supporters to win the monthly jackpot. In addition to the £1,000 prize, the Supporters Club will be donating £250 each month to a chosen local charity, with the rest of the profits from the draw going to the football club. For details on how to sign up, visit berwickrangers.com or message the supporters organisation on Facebook, Berwick Rangers Supporters Club, or on Twitter at BRFC Sup Club. Berwick Rangers Supporters Club, supporting your club and your community.
What's your current involvement with the club?
Much similar to Dale, part of the media team. So me and Dale take care of sort of like the day-to-day content regarding sort of like if sponsorships have come in, if sort of like the connection with the juniors, for example, we would take care of the press releases, etc. for that, and obviously the management of the social media accounts as well for that, and working with Nathan, who I've known since I was probably about 4 or 5. So the connection there is that my parents live next door to Nathan's dad, so and have done for the best part of 20 years. So we would always be outside the front playing football with one another, and yeah, it's kind of we both kind of, Nathan moved away to uni in Leeds and then got his job, and then I went to uni, got a job in Glasgow for 4 years, and it's kind of come full circle to being back, sort of speaking day to day with regards to Berwick Rangers. So that's been pretty cool.
Who have your favourite players been over there?
I was thinking this, and the amount of memories that I have of the football club is quite low. Like my dad took me to the game against Rangers in 2002, and then I spent a bit of time after that with Nathan. We would be ball boys. So I think he maybe mentioned in the podcast episode that he was on that he was a ball boy. So
everybody's been a ball boy at Berwick.
I probably
Everybody comes home here. I was a ball boy, and there also would be a ball boy at Rangers game. There must have been about 400 ball boys.
I didn't really like it because I lived in fear of the ball going over the speedway fence because I couldn't climb it. Used to never get to be able to go behind the goal either. Pappy and all that ruled behind the goal, so it was always probably plonked in front of the away fans or in front of the ducket. And then kind of obviously the 06-07, like I can't even remember anything from that game, like, but certainly remember being on the pitch at the end, and that's probably it for that.
Yeah.
It's funny I wasn't on the pitch at the end.
Nah.
I would have been taken off. I was away. I had my flip flops on, as you keep referring to, Adam.
Yep. Where were your boots?
Dale had them.
And then I remember I was gutted because my mum and dad wouldn't let us go to the Steny game the week after. Well, because I would have been.
Did you not go?
Nah, I wasn't allowed.
It was the inflatable day, wasn't it?
I was shan that like.
I mean, somebody had an inflatable goal, and basically, whoever got folk could be going up like trapping people in the inflatable goal, and then absolutely hammering them. So nobody even watching the game. Like I think whenever they scored, we were celebrating. You've
had a few experiences at Steny, though, Dale. So sometimes where you've maybe not lasted the duration of the game.
I can't even mind.
So,
there was one where we've no got in at all.
Well, and there's a couple before that when somebody booted the back of the fence, and
it wasn't even me. Stuart straight up, Hoyne, is it? There was the other time as well. I had the hip flask. And it was full of. I wouldn't mind. It was only full of Mad Dog, and the steward comes up, like takes it off us, like starts threatening us with jail and that, and then I go to get it back at full time. They'll let it stay in that, and he's sniffing it. He's going, "Is that Tia Maria?" I'm like, "No."
I think it was the first Rangers away game when they were in the league, and we got the later. I'm sure most folk got the later train up, and George Thompson got the half nine one up.
Oh, aye.
I think he'd had 2 bottles of vodka on the train up, and then I just remember coming at the pub before going to the game and looked over to this bus stop, and there he is, slouched in the bus.
Do you remember when we got to the Weatherspoons? He was already like absolutely gone, and he was spewing into his plate, his breakfast. That was the.
And then we saw him in the bus stop, and like he's not going to make the game, and ended up getting into the stadium, and here he is, just like 2 rows below us. Like, how the hell did that happen? Like,
was that the one where I was trying to leave at half time?
You thought the game was over at half time, man.
I was having a go at everyone, saying they're not coming out for a third half. I think I've done it at Clyde as well. I was out of mind. I was stood on the platform with Pappy and Trotter, and I'm going, "What was the score again? I can't even mind the game." No, they're still playing. I'm like,
and we got I think Ian Beresford mentioned it the other week, that game where the Wraith away, where the bus got hit by the turnip or the baggie.
Aye, unreal.
City bypass, two blokes on
meds.
Just in this field next to Edinburgh City bypass, and then the next thing, just the bus window gets absolutely shattered. And that Coulter game that you mentioned, Dale, there's about 50 of us hunched in this brick building, and it was the brick building was maybe about 6.5, 7 feet tall, and everyone's just crowded into it because it was probably the heaviest rain I've ever experienced at a game. We had the flag laid out in front of the thing. We went to pick it up after the game. It weighed about a ton.
The flag, the stand was so close to the line that the flag was literally on the pitch. I mind the way up to that day was absolutely ridiculous. I think we had to leave at like 6:30, 7 a.m. or something because it's that far away. And that was obviously the day Mike Bell came along, and we're drinking like these bottles of tequila with worms in it and that, and it's 8:30 in the morning. And I think we had maybe stopped to pick some folk up at Glasgow, and they're not wearing fancy dress. I don't know why. And they got on the bus, and just straight away, everybody's hammered, just absolutely giving them pelters. There are only 2 in fancy dress. Was it no Michael and Dom or something?
Possibly, aye, possibly. And then obviously the flare got hoisted onto the pitch, didn't it?
Aye.
There's that image on Google Images of just Lee Curry looking at it, just completely unimpressed.
Aye, that's class. No, not guilty, by the way. That wasn't me. I'm not taking responsibility for that.
Who was it?
I do know who it was, but I'm not saying. I wouldn't like to incriminate the man. He's a fine chap.
And that brings us to a close of this week's episode. Thank you very much to Dale Jones and Martin Ingles for joining us as our guests. And thanks everyone for listening. If you've enjoyed the episode, please tell your friends, family and followers. We are taking an extended break, so we'll be back in a fortnight. Stay safe and we'll speak to you soon.